Have you any idea the curse I bear?
Bargaining will get you nowhere with me, hermit.
Is that what you think this is? I ask for no more than a mere understanding of the pieces in play.
And I ask no more of you than an adequate performance for a change. Is this what you call content?
I see no quarrel with having a little fun every now and then. Are you to say putting the enjoyment of my work on display is in bad taste?
No, I'm saying it doesn't work. Whether people want it to or not. Gods setting the Limgrave chapels on fire! What in the hell were you thinking? I remind you once more that I'm the reason you aren't sitting in a cell in the capital right now. The result is the only thing of our interest. But if you fail to make significant progress, my protection may suddenly come at a price you can no longer afford.
I'll see to it that you won't be disappointed, Counselor. Well, I've got a deal to fulfill, so I guess we better get started. This week we're ranking the Evergaols. You guys like how I opened it with this week, like I'm pretending to have a coherent upload schedule? Well, in case you didn't realize, I've actually been uploading significantly more lately, and that's all thanks to my editor I've listed below. Speaking of which, I think he needs to be paid at some point. So, if you guys will, excuse me for just a minute. War Thunder is probably the most comprehensive vehicle combat game I've ever played in my life. It's got a selection of over 2,000 tanks, battleships, stealth bombers, helicopters, and planes, all crashing into each other in the most dynamic combined arms PvP experience. All of them have these intensely detailed models, and even their individual components are independently customized to make your own vehicles stand out as much as possible. Anything from camouflages to historical markings, the potential here for personalization is just unbelievable. War Thunder has vehicles dating all the way back to the 1920s, which means the occasional hilarious yet intense scene of a biplane taking out a goddamn Martin F-35 or something will just be a part of your regular Tuesday. By using my link, you can get yourself started with a massive bonus pack with premium vehicles, boosters, and all kinds of crazy benefits that can give you a really helpful boost. You can get it right now on PC, PS5, Xbox Series X or S, and consoles from the previous generation as well. The Forlorn Hound Evergaol houses one of the many Bloodhound Knights you find in the game, but this will probably be the first one you ever find. You've taken your first steps towards lorddom, like you're innocently tearing open a Christmas present as a kid before realizing there's 5 other presents under the tree and they're all the exact same goddamn gift. However, there are much more to Evergaols than the random mini-boss crawling out of ye old sewer canal, and I don't want to give the impression that this is just another boss ranking list in disguise, because we have enough of those in the world already. This particular Evergaol becomes a destination for side quest if you refrain from going in at the very beginning. Swear yourself to slavedom and become Ronnie's personal bottom, and Blyde gets thrown into the Evergaol by E.G., patiently awaiting your uncertain return. Fight the Bloodhound Knight now, and you can actually summon him. Hardly a reason why you'd need to, though. The poor knight flinches with every attack he throws if you just hold up a giant slab of cardboard in his face, and if you're prolonging visiting this Evergaol up until you submit yourself to an accursed horror movie prop, then you've already killed at least 1 or 2 of these guys and stuffed a nice 30 rune levels up your ass. It's nice the game gives you that extra help, I guess, but chances of you needing a buddy to help you out with that infamously tough Limgrave boss scaling are up a rat's ass. But I do like Blyde as an NPC, and my personal biases are making it tough to give this Evergaol anything less than a low B. You even get this fancy cat food opener too. The Stormhill Evergaol is hard to beat at the very beginning, and even harder to defend as a worthwhile location. It's one of the ever so subtle hints the game never misses an opportunity to throw at you, where it's like, you can always come back later when you're a bit more powered up. But I don't feel like it, I whine. Why not? Because my depression makes me put my self-worth in questionable things, okay? Now kindly bend over so I can shove this polearm in between your orange primordial butt cheeks. There's 16 of these guys roaming around too, so it's not like you can't get a little combat experience experience under your belt and practice with the rest of the squad and then come back here later, but that takes patience and the ability to walk away from a fight, a skill set that seems to be in quite a high demand these days, because we've largely attributed walking away with giving up, and that's weak shit. Crucible Knights aren't the worst opponents to be caught with, if I'm being honest. Their attacks are telegraphed enough to actually see what they're doing, but that doesn't shake away the feeling like you've been in a car accident when you manage to get hit. This Evergaol really isn't the early game vigor check it thinks it is. All you really have to do is go seed picking near a couple golden trees, killing whatever looks at you funny, and by the time you're deep into Stormhill, you're more than capable of making a small detour to come back and erase this guy from existence. And all that effort for 1/3 of a furry cosplay. Yeah, thanks. I'll pass. Wow, okay, it's way too easy to make a snide remark about this one. Weeping Evergaol, yeah, because I'm weeping for a better boss over here. This is officially where most of you guys will start realizing, wow, when you're starting in Limgrave, every boss looks unique. Little did we know at the time these guys were being mass-produced atop the giant mountain in the distance we thought was just there for background decoration. The ancient hero of Zaymor looks cool enough, I guess. He has a varied moveset and even psychs us out with a phase 2. Of course, the average first-timer is going to look at this and think, wow, this is a completely original boss. And which method of judgment is the fairer, I wonder? Should I be judging this Evergaol from the perspective of said first-timer by excusing the repeat boss enemies later on down the line by just being willfully ignorant to them? Or should I choose the obviously correct second option you could tell I was heading towards anyways because of how I described the first one? I can't even say this guy's a skill check like the previous two. Like, he's just weak. Like, he's nothing special. The only really intimidating thing about him is the frostbite damage, so yeah, about as threatening as a sentient ice cube. And you might as well have given me one instead of the actual reward for defeating you. This one's a D. Next. I'm sorry. What the fuck? Are these Evergaols even trying anymore? I mean, I've given you shit before for lack of worthwhile items and reliance on the idea that placing all the cool-looking bosses at the beginning will allow our disappointment with all the copycats later on to simmer down a good deal, but that was supposed to be, like, encouraging. I didn't want you to show up to work dead, but it looks like that's the effort we're getting. You want to know the lore of this guy? The highly detailed, meticulous lore of Aiden, Thief of Fire? He stole fire. He stole fire from the mountaintop. And that's why there are fire monks in Liurnia now, because apparently he brought his pursuers with him. Wow, can't wait for the sequel hero, Thief of Embarrassing Mistakes, to come along so I won't have to look at this fucking Evergaol anymore. This guy isn't just easy. He's the annoying kind of easy that keeps 1 or 2 decent attacks in his back pocket and only whips them out when you're about to fall asleep. Setting the ground on fire and shit. He has a flail so you can't parry anything. So that's about 30% of the excitement that comes from fighting NPC invaders already gone. I guess you can use madness and stuff on him, but what madness-related spells or weapons would you even have this early in the game? His armor looks like he cut a hole through the bottom of a cast iron cooking pot and stuck his head through it, but he rolls around like Solid Snake in a fucking barrel. Why does anyone even like Oh, I killed him. Oh, I got Flame of the Fell God. Fine. I'll give it a C, I guess. Good old Balls here is yet another example of the argument that the Evergaols only exist to give you cool items if you can prevent dozing off while fighting their gatekeepers. Glorified treasure chests, every last one of them. But I'm going positively Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs over that Glintblade spell, so Cuckoo's Evergaol at least gets a little bit of slack in that regard. Are we like past the point of taking bosses through the Halloween aisle of Walmart and then just insisting that they're different? I can't even act like I haven't seen this guy before thanks to his semi-transparent twin brother hanging out near Southern Liurnia. Now that I think about it, the Great Blade Fouling spell isn't even that noteworthy. If you're looking for poise break potential, you're probably better off using the Ash of War variant anyways. Even with the decreased FP cost since 1.07, you have better choices available, and I genuinely have no idea where they got the name Balls. Oh well, I guess by pointing out the low-hanging fruit I can make 2 jokes at once. I got a better idea. How about a Black Blade Gargoyle with a plaid sweater vest named Fucks? Cuckoo was right, this Evergaol is off its goddamn meds if it thinks it's any shred of good. The Royal Grave Evergaol is another piece of evidence that reinforces my argument that this is just a... You already know what I'm about to say. I've written this like 3 times. There's no point. Here's a bunch of cookie-cutter rerun bosses we're throwing at you, but you get these cool, sick items so you can't get mad. And honestly, this item might actually be worth it. The Meteorite spell is a little brother variant of a later spell you get so much later on in the game that you don't even need to worry about getting it now. So I'd simply count my blessings and scoop it up since it's here. This guy has maybe 3 moves. Swipe, Bigger Swipe, and Earthbending. That's about it. And if I missed any, then it's probably not worth mentioning in the script anyways. Just run right at him and whip out a few sexy running R2s with a colossal weapon and he should go down in like 10 seconds. There you go. The easiest spell you've ever earned in your life. Take that, Alabastard. I might need to double check that one because I'm Pretty sure this Evergaol gives you an Onyx Lord and not the other one. Fuck it, I might just leave it in either way because it'll be funny. I do remember having to search a little for this one on my first couple playthroughs just because it never actually occurred to me that there would be something behind Caria Manor. Except, you know, an entire optional section of the game specifically labeled Behind Caria Manor. So I guess I'll give it a few points in the exploration category. It's not exactly what I would call a repeat boss anyways, at least not to an egregious extent. It's not like I'm running into so many of them that I could retile my roof with them like I could Crucible Knights or Erdtree avatars, so take this B and just move on. The Moonlight Altar, the buttfuck alley of Elden Ring. Revenants, giant magic dragons, red wolves, Crystallians, Adula, and of course the Ringleader herself, Electo. From what we can surmise from everything the game gives us, this bitter old croon is one of, if not the sole perpetrator involved in the assassination of Godwin on the Night of the Black Knives. One dead deity later, all hell is breaking loose in the capital, and the Black Knives realize the local flavor might not have taken too kindly to having their equivalent of Jesus Christ escorted around the back of the barn to have his face blown off. Electo manages to escape scot-free, Tish does not, and that's why we get her spirit ashes in the Evergaol. Wow, I'm impressed. I didn't think there would be a reason. Wonderful job, said Miyazaki to his team. Now all we need is a boss. How about one of those bedsheet looking enemies that scoot around a whole bunch and make you feel like you're trying to catch a hockey puck with a pair of tweezers? Don't we already have like 10 of those somewhere? Yeah, that's true, but this one has a name. Ooh. At least this one tries to be different from her sisters. She has a plunging attack that summons a bunch of Malekith-like anime death blades in the vague space around her that seem to hit you whenever the hell they feel like it. And the only thing she's weak to, which is frostbite, just so happens to be the exact kind of element that mean-looking dragon from 2 minutes down the road is proficient in. The game does everything it can to make this fight easy for you, all things considered. Right down to giving you one of the most powerful spells in the game and then politely informing you of the practice dummy at the other end of the neighborhood waiting for his ass beating. But that would mean grading the entire area and taking other factors into consideration, and I'd like to just focus on the Evergaol by itself. Let's see. Well, you did kind of bum me out with that whole story about Tish earlier. So, I guess you've earned a B, at least. Hema scholars seek to quell conflict with cannon fire, huh? Well, that's a big fat press X to doubt on that item description, because I can't get more than 3 feet away from this weirdo without him suddenly switching tactics and calling in the fucking howitzer missiles. This is why we don't start brainstorming boss fights 30 minutes before a shift ends. He's not even a boss, he's just a regular battle mage with like a gavel. We were fighting these guys as regular enemies all the way back in Liurnia, for shit's sake. Actually, you know, I think they had gavels too. So what's even different here? Everything about the Sellia Evergaol is just something I've already seen somewhere else before, and I realize I should be saying that for most of the Evergaols, but I at least felt like I was participating in some illusion that tried to be slightly different, but no, not with this one. No magic great blades, no red death waves or meteorites, just plain as paper, clear as crystal, blunt as a wooden spoon, battle mage hues. Invade his personal space like you guys are standing in line at Space Mountain and he can't do anything except bonk you with his little whack-a-lord hammer. Can we get some gavels in the comment section, please? I thought I was clear on my stance with shit like this when people started slapping my ass for being weirded out that there were 2 Estelles. Guys, listen, I can fake getting my homework caught in my locker door all I want, but no matter what lore explanation I give my AP English teacher, it's not gonna change the fact that I'm failing the fuck out of that assignment. Lore be damned at this point, honestly. I get that he still led armies or whatever in his heyday. I'm not saying that's not important, but if Phase 1 Godric is the best this guy deserves gameplay-wise, then I would have rather had Godefroy just be one of those obscure figures we only hear about and never actually interact with, like Godwin or Mikola. I don't know what sort of content might be awaiting us in the future, DLC-wise, but I'm really hoping we've grown out of the whole let's copy-paste a big enemy somewhere in an empty forest and give him a cool item so you can't bitch about it phase of Elden Ring. Because, like, I'm far from the first person to complain about this sort of thing. Saying Elden Ring had a repeat boss problem was basically free YouTube clout 10 months ago. It was an issue in Bloodborne, it was an issue in DS2, and it's a slightly less egregious issue now just because everything's more open. This doesn't change the fact that you at least, I don't know, could have made him look different, give him a different weapon, alter his moveset even slightly so we can at least continue huffing the yes but it's different copium, but it doesn't even give you that. It gives you less than nothing, actually. Not only does it recycle a boss that I and many others thought to be irreplaceable to an extent, but it sacrifices the entire second phase to do so. The one one cool thing anyone would have remembered from Godric's fight. This is the kind of shit you see in randomizers. I'm not kidding. This fight, like, psychologically fucked with me. I remember having this looming feeling of dread that apparently no matter how unique or iconic a boss is, it doesn't have immunity to this sort of treatment. I couldn't open an Evergaol for the rest of the game without half expecting a chance encounter with Redaniel or some shit. Alright, kids, why don't you sit down and let me tell you the story of a man named Vike. In his prime, he was pretty much set to become the new Elden Lord. No other Tarnished out there even came close to his strength, except one day he decided to put his maiden on a pedestal and threw himself into the frenzied flame. That's a lie. That's not. It's actually pretty close to the truth. Look, the description even says, look man, you're shit out of luck, go ask Vadi. So I got nothing for you. All I know is he got gobbled up by the flame's influence, and now his armor looks like a Thumb from Spy Kids had his way with him back behind an Applebee's. The fingerprint set is already a perfect armor set if you're looking for some Elden bling, but Vike's Dragon Bolt would have found more use if Vike himself emptied his bladder all over the parchment and flew it in the sky like the goddamn Union Jack. It's no secret that I hate this spell, and I'm pretty sure that's what the common opinion is as well, so I'm not even going to give you the liberty of explaining why. Go look in one of my other videos. I'm more than positive I've said something nasty about it at one point. All things considered, this is one of the less offensive Evergaols. However, I always feel bothered when I actually think about the magnitude a character like Vike should have had on the greater plot of the game. He had the balls to make it all the way here to the mountaintop, so any detour to the frenzied flame means he would have literally had to go back down the lift and take the plunge into the sewers. Whatever the reason was, it was obviously very intentional. Shouldn't a guy like this be getting a little more screen time? I understand if you want to stick to him being an NPC invader, because he was a Tarnished, after all, that's what makes the most sense. I'm not asking you to swap him with Godfrey or anything, just a little more fanfare, I guess, would have been nice. Is this really a guy that deserves to get spam sandwiched by any spell that produces more force than a sneeze? I don't really feel like he needs to be here, but he is. And I guess the only thing we can do about that is to give it a good old B and move on. Well, I think we learned a valuable lesson today. We learned that there is no such thing as a good Evergaol. With the exception of those with actual story significance, all one of them, these glorified treasure chests have little reason to exist and ultimately serve as a means to let players know, hey, this person you're about to fight existed at one point. They used to be important, they are no longer that, so please kill them. This perfectly sums up everything I feel about Evergaols in the game. You guys like rewards? Well, this link has a shitload of those. Look at all this cool stuff you get if you create a War Thunder account using my link in the description. Yeah? Oh, and in the pinned comment, too. Alright, that's all I got. Pointless, but not really in the way of anything, so just who cares? That's the final verdict.